Hi there. Welcome to the Rediscover Psychological Services YouTube channel. My name is Trevor and this is Wanda Chevret. She's the director and owner and psychologist at Rediscover. Perfect. Today's topic is 5 common mistakes that couples make in conflict. We're going to start off with a quote, and it says, "Happiness is letting go of what you think your life is supposed to look like right now and appreciating it for everything that it is." That's some good words. Where did you find that quote?
Online.
Online. Everything we find online. Yeah, exactly.
Where else do you find those things nowadays?
I know. Reading a good book, hearing a podcast.
We don't do that anymore.
We don't do that. Yeah. Reading.
Google.
Google. I Googled it. Perfect. And here's a quick statistic or a fact for you. According to various studies, one of the most common causes of divorce are conflict, irretrievable breakdown in a relationship, and arguing. I could see that would cause breakdown. You probably see that all the time in your practice, right?
I do, yeah.
Maybe tell us a little bit about that, like how you help people, with these different, conflicts and resolutions.
Yeah, so a lot of the times people come to me, obviously they're having issues within their relationship. That can be a number of things, and usually it is, how they deal with conflict is probably number one thing, and it can be conflict about anything, finances, kids, and so we just kind of help them find communication strategies that work for them, that have been known and effective to work for couples. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to get right into it, and today we're talking about the 5 common mistakes that couples make in relationships when it regards conflict. The first one is trying to just let it go or ignore it without talking about it and avoiding the spouse's reaction. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that and how we, resolve that and going forward.
Yeah, and so what normally happens is we get couples that, they've been having the same argument over and over and over again. You hear that often. This has been going on for years and no resolve. So of course it just continues to be brought up. And so really what we want to do is we want to work with the couple on not necessarily finding a resolve, because sometimes there is no resolve.
Yeah.
The perpetual issues, as Gottman would call them. And so we just really want to help them focus on what is underneath that for them, the issue, and come up with some sort of negotiation, compromise, if you may, in helping them talk better about that issue. And we usually recognize that there's a lot of values that are going on there.
Okay.
And it's just getting into the value system of the couple, into the individual person, and how that is playing the role of that conflict.
Okay. Now, let's get to number 2. So number 2 of the common mistakes that couples make in conflict is trying to fix the other person or change their perspective about the issue. Tell us a little bit about that. That sounds interesting.
You're smiling.
That sounds interesting.
That you've probably done this with your spouse, as we all have. I think all couples do these things.
Yeah.
Very common. So don't be surprised that you do have them. And so what that really is we have our perspective, and we talk to our partner, and of course they have a different perspective, and then we're butting heads on that perspective. And then we really try hard to change our partner's mind about something. That's not necessarily the best approach to that, because it can go on for a long, long time, because you're not going to change their perspective. At the end of the day, yeah, maybe sometimes you will, but that's probably maybe 50% or less that you will change their perspective. Instead, what we want to do is, and this is what we help couples in therapy do, is we help them flesh out their perspective.
Okay.
We get them to maybe adopt their partner's perspective for a moment. We kind of shelve our own. This is a Gottman approach. It's called the rapport method. So the listener will just listen to their partner's perspective, and this takes them suspending their perspective, putting it on a shelf, and just being open to their partner's perspective, being open-minded, getting any clarifying questions asked, getting it answered, stuff like that, and to really flesh out what's going on with their partner, and so we can come to a place of understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
So not trying to fix them or change their mind, but having them see things from a different point of view.
Right.
That's not their own. Okay.
Yeah, because we're allowed to be individual. In fact, it's really healthy in relationships to hold your own person, right? To be individual. That's not, you don't want to be your partner to be you. That's not
Yeah.
the aim of a relationship, because
Right.
that would be really boring.
Yeah.
We like the individual that our partner is. That's why we fell in love with them. That's why we're with them. And so really honoring that.
Right. Excellent. I like that. So the next one. So here's another big mistake that I've been guilty of. Raising your voice. I promise. Like I tell them, I'm not yelling. I'm not yelling. Right? You're making me yell. No, I'm not yelling.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so of course
Never
that's-
works. Okay.
Yeah, that's obvious. Is, you know, one wants to be right, so we start escalating it by raising our voice, thinking that if we talk louder, the other person will hear us more, take our perspective, or listen to us. That never works, as we know. And why it doesn't work? The other person tends to get defensive. If somebody's yelling, it's actually, to our nervous system, a threat against us. And so we respond as such. If somebody's threatening us, we have our fight-flight response system. So either we're going to flee the conversation, or we're going to amp it up and we're going to start fighting. So that's just a natural nervous system response. And so that's what ends up happening, and that's why it gets ramped up. So again, helping couples identify when they're starting to climb on our scale, which is called the SUD scale, subjective units of distress, and when that's going to start, and then getting them to de-escalate themselves before they go back into the conflict.
Okay, so if you're in a situation where, this is the way that you resolve a conflict, or if you have any other, issues or ways that are, could be addressed in a therapy session, I think you should definitely talk with somebody about it before it gets into a place where it can't be reconciled. So, if you're having troubles in conflict and resolving that, you should definitely call up Wanda and get an appointment with them and see how she can help you, and her other team of therapists can help you resolve that. The next one here, next of the 5 common mistakes that couples make in conflict, is calling names, putting them or their family and friends down, and being sarcastic, what Gottman calls contempt. So tell us about that one, and how you help couples get through that particular mistake.
So this is one that we actually, unfortunately, is quite common in couples, and what Gottman would say, it was probably the number one leading factor in divorce. What he sees, in his studies, that when we start name calling, putting down, derogatory, even scoffing, or making sarcastic remarks, it's contemptuous. And why it's so horrible for couples, it's so detrimental, is because it creates emotional damage over time. Not just in that moment, but it actually deteriorates the trust between couples, and the respect and the love and the fondness between couples. And then over time, that's just very detrimental. It leaves room for, all sorts of things for couples to go to other people, for instance, and get the emotional bonding from other people, and then affairs happen. So that's probably the number one detrimental thing. And how we go about fixing that, or what we do to help, or try to help, is we try to build the bond between the couple. So over time, of course, the bond has been deteriorating. So we just kind of help the couple build that bond through admiration and respect, and doing little things a day for your partner that show that you do respect them, and obviously learning to communicate differently with them, what we call, a gentle startup, and then not allowing it to, escalate to that point to begin with. So that's really how we try to be helpful. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's very helpful, because this isn't something that is typically taught. You get into a relationship, you fall in love, quote unquote, and you get married, you decide to get married, but no one really teaches you how to resolve conflicts. So you just do what you've either seen or been modeled after in your history, and that's not always the healthiest way to deal with things. Or some people, they watch too much TV and they think that's the way you handle or resolve conflicts, and that's dramatization of how to resolve conflict, and it's ridiculous.
Well, and I think there's this myth that we can't conflict, that conflict is bad.
Right.
And so people don't actually learn how to conflict, because conflict is actually very healthy. It's how you go about conflict, right? How do you interact with your partner that is emotionally safe for both people? And that is not taught. We're always taught, and at least I was, that you just don't conflict. Conflict is bad. Avoid it.
Yeah, all conflict. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, you know, one person in the relationship always feels like they're never being heard or appreciated, being talked over. You know, their thoughts and ideas don't count. They don't matter, and that's not a healthy place to be, because then you get resentment, or someone just becomes a shell of a person and they don't feel they have any identity, and that's a horrible place as well. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, and absolutely. And another thing is that's where we get the escalation as well, is because we're not taught how to fight, and then or conflict, and so it ends up just building up, right? And then we get the large emotions instead of being able to talk about conflict and sort it out in an assertive way, and so over time it builds up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So where are we at? We're on number 5 now. Okay. So number 5, not allowing or blocking a person from walking away from the conflict. So not letting someone walk away and blow off steam. Tell us how that is a big problem, and how you help people with that particular scenario.
Yeah, so we see this a lot in like couples that have what we call situational violence, or even characteristical violence, but it's because like things escalate so big, out of proportion, that we start seeing, you know, dishes fly, or you know, these big grand emotions that can be very dangerous for people, and so this is really because one person has tried to walk away because they become emotionally flooded, which is just overwhelmed emotion. And they've tried to walk away, but the pursuer just continues, the other partner continues to try to, you know, no, I need to talk about this, I need to talk about it. And this is usually because they do have some abandonment things going on, where that is a trigger for them when somebody walks away from them, right? This means that they're going to leave. I can't get this dealt with. I need to actually solve the problem now. And so they'll go after trying to solve the problem, but because the other person is emotionally flooded, they then, you know, can retaliate really quickly, and then it goes on like that. So really what we want to do is we want to teach couples you know, how to recognize in our bodies when we're getting to that stage, and being able to communicate that in the moment with our partner, and to allow that space. So, you know, you say, you know what, Wanda, I'm just had enough right now. I need space. And then you know, yeah, okay, absolutely. Take 20 minutes, take however long you need, and usually it's agreed upon. And then you actually enact that before it gets too out of control, where you can't communicate that.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you are finding that you are making some mistakes when you're in conflict with your partner or spouse, it is not shameful to ask for some help. It is not, you know, you're not weak. Actually, it shows a sign of strength and maturity when you recognize that you don't know how to handle this particular situation, and you get some professional help, or an outside set of eyeballs and ears on that situation to help you through it. So I would recommend contacting Wanda at Rediscover Psychological Services. There's 3 locations now in Edmonton. Where are they exactly?
Okay, so the main location is Capilano, Fulton Place location. And then we have the west location, which is located 16880 111th Ave. So it's just by, just right by the mall. It's like down the street from the mall, the big mall, West Ed. And then we have the downtown location. So that's our newest location, opening up on the 15th of June. So we're really excited about that. Yeah, it's 106th Street, that one.
106th Street. So there's many locations, many different people who can help with these situations. I know you specialize in couples therapy, and resolution of conflicts and these types of things, opening communication. So, call Wanda up and we'll get you someone to talk to. You can do a free 15-minute assessment to see if it's the right fit for you, find the right psychologist or therapist to help you, and give them a call. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing everything today, Wanda. And we have more videos on the way, so stay tuned and to this channel, and please like, subscribe, tell your friends. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Have a great day.